first item of business is 2A is September 3rd, 2024 CTC meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve September 3rd, 2024 minutes.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call for the questions. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Next item is new business. Under 3A, we have the reimbursement approval for road and sign materials to the Chester County Roads Department in the amount of $98,634.42. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the of our Public Works Director. We didn't have that. That's why this number is a little bit larger than what we normally see on these reimbursements. But these reimbursements come out of the contingency that is in the one-time funding or the recurring funding, and so that's how these are paid. So there is money there for these reimbursements, but this is really kind of like a double.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Bagley. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
All in favor. Next, we have 3B, which is 2024 road paving and 2025 road paving update, one-time money. And we'll introduce Mr. Brian Falkenberry with Infrastructure Consulting Engineering.
Good afternoon, Council. I was updating on the 2024 CTC paving program. All 12 roads are completed at this time, which was Angel Road, Antler Drive, Bel Air Drive, Branch Street, Bridgewood Road, Connor Road, Friendship Drive, Grove Park Drive, Linda Lane, Nancy's Place, Partridge Lane, and Raxter Road. And that project is completed. And then the 2025 road list, we're still working on it as far as prioritizing the roads. It's going to be a little bit of change in it due to cost of roads going up. So we're still working with the county, and we're going to work with Ms. Devon to prioritize those roads. We should have that list coming out soon.
Brian, did they get Friendship Road straightened out? Did you get Friendship Road straightened out?
Yes, sir. The one that we went down and looked at that needed the gravel and had some issues.
Yes, that's going to be on the punch list, Mr. John. We're going to put stone in that radius, and at the very ends where that truck driver's at, we're going to stone that.
It took me a minute. I'm sorry. I had to refresh my memory on that one.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, as long as you got it straightened out, because it was a mess. We spent a lot of money for something that was a mess. Put asphalt on it, but for the sake of argument, if you got it taken care of, the lady hadn't called me, so that must be a good sign that you're working on it.
Yeah, I've talked to her a couple times. The lady right in the corner.
Is there any more discussion? No action is needed, so we'll move on, I guess. Thank you very much. Move on to 3C, which is a 2025 road paving update with Jeffrey Gilmore with A. Morton, Thomas and Associates.
Good afternoon. I'm just here to update you. We are handling the recurring funds for the 2025 resurfacing project. Plans and bid documents are complete and have been submitted to the county for review and approval. Total cost for the 9 roads when we submitted was $1,157,838. This includes turnkey for engineering, construction, inspection, and construction cost. There's 3 county roads and 6 state roads in the contract. That is McCree Drive, Hosier Strong Road, Enix Road, Looking Glass Drive, Martin Luther King Memorial Drive, Laurie Street, Nelson Road, Lincolnville Road, and Sycamore Road, totaling approximately 3 miles.
Hey, Doc, got a question for you. On Lincolnville Drive, is y'all gonna do that whole circle? Cause it's like a circle.
It's listed 781 feet. I would have to get, I'm not sure if it is the whole circle is 700. Well, it says to dead end, Lincolnville Road from West End Street to dead end. I don't know if that answers your question.
I don't know, can you find that out? Cause it's just like a little circle, it's a little neighborhood,
I'll be glad to
and
get
let me
back,
know.
get back with you on that. It just
Yes, sir.
says from West End Street to the dead end.
It ain't no dead end, it's just a circle. It's
Okay,
like a circle.
okay. Is that what you would prefer to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can get back with you on that.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Any more questions? All right, thank you very much.
And I had one more update
Okay.
on some of our projects. The Chester County Pavement Management Plan, we're currently drafting a scope, fee proposal, survey all the paved county-owned maintained roads and develop multi-year plan to resurface those roads. Estimate cost to do this from AMT is $50,000 to complete the work to survey all existing county paved roads.
So, Mr. Chair, that is, we are seeking quotes on that. We talked, I think, in the last CTC meeting that one of our goals, and one of our new Public Works Director, there she is back there, her goals too is to find a more data-driven way for council members to be able to assess roads in their districts, for you to understand the life expectancy of your roads, to understand traffic patterns on those roads, residents on those roads, and so forth. And so that's something we're seeking. It can't be paid out of CTC funds. That's something we'll have to do a capital budget item for as we go into next year. But we are following through with what we had talked about previously.
All right, thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, next we have Mr. Esther, if you want to give us the funding and small projects update.
So, the CTC, the committee will have to approve, as you know, last year you guys approved a certain dollar amount to be used for small projects. The majority of that, Brian, we used all but $16,000 of that money, correct? And so that money will go back into the pot for next year, but that money's generally pulled out of contingency funds. What I'm requesting is that we take out of the one-time funds, which was the larger amount, the 2.7 million, where we have currently a pretty substantial contingency on that. I think it's upwards of about close to $400,000, 300 and some change. Is that we take 100 of that and set it aside for small projects. Now, what that will do is there's a couple of other roads that you all have called about or asked about. We went with Mr. Agee to look at a couple of roads, one being Silverbrook. And those are, and a lot of times these roads are not roads that were maybe on your radar. There may be areas that were county maintained, not county owned, but something the county's paved in the past. Bradley Street, Mr. Killian is one of them that we would fund out of this small project fund as well. And so what it would allow us to do is to take those funds and use them for the little things. Mr. Agee, it's actually in Mr. Rain's district, I think, Silverbrook, is that
Yes.
correct?
You-
And, but he brought it to my attention, and we went down and took a look at it, and they've got a big culvert. It's where we paved a 10-foot wide section. The county's maintained it. They've got a culvert that's busted out and it's sticking up, and it's going to cause damage to somebody's car. So we need to fix it. And so we could use these funds for that. Bradley Street's got a drainage issue we've been talking about for a year and a half. And so we're going to get that fixed as well. And I've got a couple of cost estimates on those.
Mr. Hester, what about right there at Metropolitan Church? You know where that water be standing up just before you go over the railroad track? on York Street? Is the church set right
I
there?
do know where, me and you went out
Yeah,
and
me
looked
and
at that.
you.
Yes, sir, we did. So again, that's something that we could look at. We could have our engineers go take a look at that one. Ms. Bagley, if you'll remind me, I'll fill you in on that one tomorrow. I know Mr. Hall was looking at it. I don't know where that one ever got to, if either of our companies had ever looked at that. So, again, I'm just requesting that we put 100,000 in there, and then we've also had, Silverbrook and Bradley have been the two that have been brought to our attention. Mr. Agee brought another one to our attention that was a county road putting gravel on, which we can take care of that without these funds. And then Nella Street, is it Nella Street? Nella Road, I'm sorry, has come up several times in discussion from several different council members. Ms. Bagley has looked at that road. It is a state road, but again, it would allow us to kind of give you some evaluation and determine if we have the funds there to make the repairs on those. Any questions on that, or the updates regarding those roads?
Let me comment on Silverbrook, since this is Mr. Raines. Silverbrook is a state road, but many, many years ago, if you go down Highway 9 where the animal clinic is and H&R Block, there's a dirt road, or a road goes up through there. That used to be the dirt road that went through Mr. Rogers Reed's farm. And when they started building houses, the state maintenance stopped. But the county part of it continued on that dirt road. And Mr. Kirby lived down there, and Joe
Mr. Gordon.
lives down there, 4 or 5 houses on that road. So it's just absolutely destroyed. They didn't do anything except go throw some asphalt on it, and so.
And that's, Mr. Agee's correct, it's a state road to a certain point once it ends. And there's a sign, end of state maintenance on that road. And what happens at that point is the rest of the homes that are down on that road, at some point, the county went in and paved that road. And so once we do that, then at that point, we maintain those roads.
I've run across numerous occasions where I'll get calls about different roads, check it out, and they're not DOT roads, and they're not on the county list, and yet they've been paid. So I think I've got a good many instances of that in my district.
And again, I think that's up to you guys as the committee to take those on a case by case. If you you bring them to our attention, we give you the valuation, and then this committee, and again, with small projects, unless we're putting riprap or replacing a culvert that's broken that needs to be done, or fixing some issues that could endanger, somebody's property, damage further if we don't fix, things like that, then it's up to the committee to really decide. We can bring those items back before the committee and say, here's our cost estimates. Is it okay for us to use these small project funds? And that's kind of how we will approach that. Yes, sir.
Mr. Esther, I got one more question for you. I've been talking about the railroad tracks in Chester, about right over there in front of Clacks. Them railroad tracks is terrible. What can we do to get them tracks fixed in Chester so it won't tear up nobody's car?
So if I'm not mistaken, let me try to word this right. I believe there is one of the rail companies is undertaking a project to go in and fix all the asphalt on all the tracks up to a certain point. Did any of you all see that memo that came out?
I remember.
And it's been recent, very recent. And it comes all the way through Chester. And what you're going to see happen is they're going to shut down some of these crossings for a period of time so that they can replace that asphalt. Now, it's a 2-year time frame, and they're starting over in Union County or somewhere away from us, and they're working their way here. So what you'll see is over time, they'll start replacing those tracks and putting asphalt down. But we can put work orders. If it's really bad, and you called me about one at one point, I believe on Saluda or York, and they came out and paved that when we put
York Street.
when we put a work order in.
Yes, sir.
So that's, you know, that's something that we can get done as well.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move into item 4, which is council comments. So is there any additional comments that the council would like to make? I have a couple myself. So Nella Street, Mr. Hester's already mentioned it. Right next to it is Cortlandt Street, and it's just as bad. So
Cortland?
Cortlandt. And I rode both of those today. And so I appreciate y'all just, I think both of them are probably going to be state roads, but we could still see what the condition is and what a plan is for those. And then I saw today the work on Rocky Creek Road with the fence and improving the visibility around the curve. Looks really good. So thank you to the county for making that happen. That's going to make that curve a little bit safer. So I need folks to slow down, but that's still really good. All I had. Any more council comments?
The one that concerns me the most in my district, or one of them, is really short, it's like an alley that runs parallel to Argonne Street in the town of Great Falls. And it's about the only access that emergency vehicles have to get up in there to those houses. There's a good many residents, and it desperately needs work.
Yeah, and I will say, after a meeting in Great Falls, I actually went and drove it, and you don't drive it. You go in and you have to back all the way out. There's no way to really turn around if there's people in their driveways. I had to literally back all the way out, back onto the street, so that's,
There was some
That's okay.
confusion about the name of it, but I know it's got alley in it.
yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
in it.
I see Miss Bagley taking notes back there, so I know she's definitely on that. And, good thing we have both of our
Robert had looked into it.
engineering
Yeah.
firms in here as well.
And I was going to add this on top of Mike's as well. There's also a road in Fort Lawn, Cemetery Road. It's actually a dead end, but it's been overgrown so much as to where they go in and they cut, but it's almost like a one-lane road now instead of 2 lanes. So that's kind of just, there's not really anybody that lives back there. It's just not, it looks like, it could be like a parking area. And so I just think if it would be better cleaned up, maintained, there's a cemetery way back there on the left. So I think if it would just kind of, there's a lot of trash that ends up on there and a lot of complaints about that, so.
So, Mr. Chair, I think our goal would be, if you all approve the 100,000 small project fund, we can do 2 things. One, we can take a look at some of these roads, we can prioritize them, come back to CTC at the next CTC meeting. Come back at the next CTC meeting, and council can have input on which roads they would like for us to choose. The other thing that I would like to follow up with is that while these roads that were given to AMT and to ICE and the ones they presented, please understand it's always a moving target with the cost estimates. So when we get to a point where we start to pave these roads, the cost could be different than what the cost estimates are. So the roads will be done in priority. And so if we run out of funding at the end of that year, that road would just be rotated up to the top of your list the following year for CTC to approve. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that those cost estimates you get 2 years in advance on a road definitely do not always stay the same.
Well, let me ask a question. We were chatting about Lynn Road a while ago. Lynn Road and Melnunderee Road are the same road, except there's a crossroad that goes through it, Mount Vernon. And we went over there the other day, and the Pulpwoods have just destroyed it. Just destroyed it. There's no road. It's just a mess. And Mr. Stubbs, Senator Stubbs is right next to, in Richburg, and I'm planning on talking to him about that now. And saying, hey, look, guys, you need to do something about this. It's not on the list, according to what Brian said. Not on the list. But it's totally unfair for about 10 or 15 houses or even more back in there be knocking their cars out of alignment and all that stuff. So I'm gonna make sure I speak to Mr. Stubbs, Senator Stubbs, and see if he can do something about that.
Thank you very much.
All right, so are there any more council comments during this Chester County Transportation Committee meeting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right.